Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It is Monday morning, 10:09 a.m. Pacific. I don't always give out the time of the date, but it's free agency frenzy, so we're doing that today. I'm Guy. Glad you're here. The YouTube channel, Guy Haberman YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the podcast, which is down in the description below. If you're listening to the podcast, which you find by searching Guy Haberman Podcast on your podcast provider. Appreciate it. If you're on Apple Podcast, you can watch the YouTube channel by checking out the link in your description, the pod description. And as I've been promising, mailbag is coming back. So on the podcast, hit the Apple Podcast 5-star review, 5 stars, leave a review. In the review, leave a question. Appreciate that very much. 5 stars for my weekend. Flower and Water, North Beach location. Andrew Schultz stand-up on Saturday night was fantastic. I've seen Chappelle twice. I'm not saying he's better than Chappelle. I'm just saying I laughed as hard as I laughed at Chappelle when I saw Andrew Schultz 9:45 show Saturday night at the Masonic in San Francisco. It was incredible. It was incredible. It was incredible. I was blown away. 5-star to Cholita Linda as well. All right. Here we go. The week is here. Big week. I've got free agency. We've all got free agency. Thursday, NCAA tournament, kind of. Pac-12 tournament. I'm going to Vegas on Thursday. I'll be in Vegas through the weekend. If stuff happens, I'll do stuff from Las Vegas, but I'm excited to go watch the last Pac-12 tournament ever. Okay, we're going to keep an eye on the internet as we do this as much as we can. Try not to get distracted by any of that stuff as we run through at least some of the initial stories of the day. And let's go. A few things to point out. Eric Armstead being the biggest news, at least of the 49ers days so far, going back to yesterday. And a couple different ways to read this Armstead stuff here early Monday or midday, almost Monday. Mayoko, the Niners approached Armstead about accepting a significant pay cut, important word, of his scheduled $17.4 million. He declined, so the Niners are set to release him. He'll become a free agent. That hasn't happened yet as we do this. Mayoko, that was his wording. Schefter's wording was a little bit different. He said after the Niners and Arik Armstead attempted but failed to work out a restructured contract, the Niners expect to release him. San Francisco now plans to release him per source. Armstead expected to become a free agent. The two sides came close to a deal, but Armstead, as Schultz reported, wants to see what his market is. So when I read what Schefter wrote, it sounds like there was more hope in a contract than the way I read Mayoko, who says they approached him, significant pay cut. He said no. The way Schefter wrote it, when I read Schefter's, I thought, well, he wants to test the market. It doesn't mean he would not be back. So let's see how that one plays out. That's first on my list of just how things go, right? I mean, if you're him and one of the guys who worked in your organization, maybe, definitely had a hand in drafting you, Adam Peters, just took over in Washington, trying to set a culture, just traded away 2 of his defensive linemen. Well, he didn't, but Montez Sweat and Chase Young got traded away before he got there. The home team always feels like, we talk about home team discounts a lot, but sometimes the home team pays a little more because they know how much somebody is worth beyond just their numbers, their film. And so Eric Armstead has some advocates potentially out there, right? If you're him, you go, well, Washington might really value me because they know what I do in a locker room. Maybe DeMeco Ryans and the Houston Texans, right? Maybe Mike McDaniel, maybe Robert, not that Robert Saleh needs him, but, I think there is probably some sense if you're them, like, this isn't just any normal free agency. There are guys that have been around me all over the league. I think Washington would probably be at the top of the list. Would they be willing to overpay a little bit because they're not in a win? I mean, everyone's in a win now mode, but they're not in the most win now mode. And then maybe they see a little value in you. Peters didn't draft Eric. Eric Armstead was here before Peters. Thank you. Nonetheless, he's had time to get to know him. So, I think that'd be one potential team. The Niners did a lot without him. just like they've done a lot without DeForest Buckner. After DeForest Buckner got traded, we thought, how could they ever recover from this? And they did. They went back to the Super Bowl. Now, they never replaced DeForest Buckner, really. They've been trying, and maybe they'll be trying. But Arik Armstead is leaving potentially at a time he's not playing at the level because of his availability that DeForest Buckner was playing at when he left. So it'll hurt, particularly from a pass rush standpoint. Maybe you can replace him with a better run stuffer. I think if they went interior here in free agency, you would need that. It's not really Javon Hargrave's strength either. I don't read it as 1,000% gone just because of the way Schefter reported it. But I think you've got to expect that he's gone. And I think when you look back at the way the Niners have handled free agency the last few years, when you look back at some of the things that have been said, Tom Pelissero, I was watching NFL Network right now. Pelissero said this morning, expect the Niners to make another big signing. I take that more as the Niners loading up for somebody else than moving money to try and stay under the cap. I remember where I was actually when the 49ers drafted Arik Armstead. John and I were doing a draft show with Ricky Waters from a Hooters somewhere on the peninsula. Don't remember exactly where. The Niners drafted Armstead, and I got to tell you, if you were, I didn't love the pick. I didn't love the pick then. I was wrong about the pick. It was a good pick. I thought they were drafting a basketball player who'd be. Not to be extreme, but to be simple, a little too soft. I was wrong. Really excellent player. Excellent player. Excellent member of the franchise. He will be missed. He will be missed if he's gone. But at some point, everybody's got to get replaced. And they've spent a lot of their money at linebacker with Fred Warner, or a lot of their attention, I should say, goes to linebacker with Fred Warner, goes to Nick Bosa, the money him, Hargrave the money, Mooney Ward's going to need money, and this guy's not available. So I think when you go through kind of the offseason conversations we've had to this point about of the big money guys who could be out, based on performance, Armstead was always at the top of that list. We know there's the use check story right now. Here's what Barrows tweeted early on Monday morning. As Adam Kaplan noted, the Niners approached Kyle Juszczyk, hero, about lowering his salary cap hit for the upcoming season. The two sides are talking. Nothing's been finalized. He has a base salary of $5.75 million for 2024. So that's a name that's come up a lot. And we've talked about it on this show. Personally, hate to see it. I don't expect to see it. The reason I brought him up here is just I think he's been more important than Armstead in a way for the 49ers because he's been available, integral part of what they do. The Niners could have used, they suffered without Armstead. So don't get it twisted. Like, the guy's an impactful player, but they've had to prove they can survive without him. Comment from JHH: this regime doesn't have a great track record of drafting interior defensive linemen. No. I could see Kinlaw being back just because he's not going to be expensive, right? So he'd be at the top of that list. I think what they do here in these next few hours and days will affect the way we look at their draft. So let's see where they spend right now. Let's see where the Niners spend. If they go offensive lineman in free agency, then maybe that means they feel good about going defensive lineman early in the draft in the first round. If they go D lineman here, if they go pass rusher here, maybe it's because they feel really good about an offensive lineman getting to them that can play right away. You bring McKivitz back. You draft the best available offensive lineman to you in the first round. If that's a guard, then great. If it's a tackle, then great. And McKivitz can be a guard or a swing tackle. Or we've seen with this offensive line every year, you need multiple guys. So, I think the Armstead deal is one that's about creating money for them and making a splash. It's every indication has been so far that the 49ers are going to do something significant. The thread that Mike Silver put together on Sunday was interesting. Let me pull it up on the TV here. Expect the Niners to approach free agency with a sense of urgency. at the edge position opposite of Nick Bosa. That doesn't mean they will jump immediately or overpay. They want value. Still, with players like Danielle Hunter, Jonathan Greenard, and Leonard Floyd out there, they'd be poised to move quickly at the right price. Greenard has already been signed by the Vikings, which really makes Danielle Hunter, who I think would feel like a major win for the 49ers, extra available. I think everybody felt like he was available, but $76 million in 4 years for Jonathan Greenard goes from Houston to Minnesota. $42 million guaranteed is what Schefter reported there. So he goes on to say, Silver, they'd be monitoring potential trades and the release of Chargers edges, Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa. They'll do something, I believe. Let's take a break in the thread there to point out that Cheryl Bosa, Nick and Joey's mom, reacting to a post on the internet about Joey and Nick playing together, posted, OMG, do it for mama. The photo has Joey photoshopped into a 49ers uniform. The situation for the Chargers, if you think, well, I don't know, I don't really want to trade for Joey Bosa, you may not have to. Here's the salaries committed for the Chargers this year. Khalil Mack, $38.5 million. Joey Bosa, $36.6 million. Keenan Allen, $34.7 million. Mike Williams, $32.4 million. So that's why Silver writes, let's keep an eye on potential releases by the Chargers. Silver goes on to say paying for an edge could mean parting ways with Arik Armstead and going cheaper opposite Javon Hargrave. So far, Silver's right. Check that box. Keep an eye on former Niners defensive tackle DJ Jones, likely to be cut by the Denver Broncos. Did he get cut already? I thought I saw this morning that he did, or maybe he was just on the verge of it. On we go. Niners will also look at corners outside and slot, given Diamador Lenore's flexibility. That is something we haven't talked a lot about. I don't think. I mean, we've talked about Lenore a lot, but that you can just go best available nickel or corner. If the best guy out there that you can get in your price range is a nickel, great. Diamador can play outside. I personally, I'd love to see him just stay in the slot and you get an outside guy, but whatever, it doesn't matter. You just pick. Possibly someone like the Packers' Keyshawn Nixon, who's an accomplished return man. They like an off-ball linebacker given Greenlaw's injury, but Azeez Al-Shire is likely too expensive to bring back. Remember, let me see. Was it? No, it was Jeremy Fowler, Dan Graziano last week, who wrote, he didn't write Azeez Al-Shire would be too expensive for the 49ers, but he wrote Azeez Al-Shire there's a lot of steam on Azeez Al-Shire was basically what he said. Like, he's going to be a hot name. All right. But I mean, he wants to be a Niner. He showed up to a game while he was technically still under contract with the Titans just to support his guys. Silver went on to say on Sunday, safety, tight end, interior O-line, wide receiver, or other areas of interest. There is no clear sense of whether the Niners will pay Brandon Aiyuk. On and on we go with Aiyuk. Again, it may come down to value or rethink their approach of their position. They have 11 draft picks, some of which can serve as trade capital. Bottom line, Purdy on a rookie deal. Niners remain in win-now mode. However, patience may be a virtue this week. Biding their time and landing an accomplished edge rusher at value would be cause for celebration. I agree. Helping Nick out, going a little cheaper inside. You've spent the money on Hargrave, DJ Jones, and Danielle Hunter or Joey Bosa. I know Joey's been banged up, but maybe playing with his brother would give him a little something extra. Those would be wins. Those would be wins. I mean, I think those, like, to me, I know there's a lot of like Christian Wilkins talk. Give me Danielle Hunter over Christian Wilkins. If you bring Wilkins, he helps. He upgrades Armstead from a run defense standpoint. Not as good of a pass rusher, but okay. He's younger, healthy. So, I mean, that's a win. But I do think the way they operate here affects, just kind of affects the way we look at what they do in the draft. So other ththings that have happened, Niners signed Brandon Allen on a 1-year deal. He's back. Great. I mean, that's, I think, pretty expected. He's a really good fit. As you guys know, if you've been watching or listening during the season, I guess it wasn't that long ago. We had Brandon Allen on the show, interviewed Brandon Allen, and I think he's got a very good feel for what it takes to be a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. I think Shanahan has a lot of respect for him and trusts him a lot. And he's great around Brock Purdy. He's great for Brock. He understands the role. This is a guy that's been around a lot of really good systems. He's been to Brandon Allen's been to 3 Super Bowls. Super Bowl with the Bengals, Super Bowl with the Rams, Super Bowl with the 49ers. Has not won one yet, but he's played for really high-level coaches. They value him, right? He's kind of in the tree. Zach Taylor's not really the tree, the Shanahan tree, but Zach Taylor, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. To me, he's going to be the backup. He's going to be the backup quarterback, and then you draft or sign a free agent guy. As you know, you guys know, I've said I wouldn't draft a guy. I wouldn't use one. The Niners have found production in multiple times in the 7th round, in the 6th round, in the 5th round. They do a good job there. Now, I know this draft is not going to be as deep there, but I would not be inclined to use a pick on a quarterback this year. Sign a guy undrafted, make Brandon Allen the backup, and away you go with Brock Purdy, and you go pretty reasonably priced there. So much for Christian Wilkins, which, as you just heard me say it, so this isn't a revisionist history. That's fine. That's fine. Rap sheet reporting that Wilkins is going to go to the Raiders, 4-year deal, $110 million base value, $85 million in guarantees. Great. Very disappointed personally that Russell Wilson did not end up on the Las Vegas Raiders. That felt like a great fit for me. I was going to get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Old news by now. Things move so quickly that Russ is going to the Steelers, which I don't know if people like it or hate it. I don't particularly. I'm interested by it. If somebody's going to pay a guy $38 million to go away, then I wouldn't be all that fired up to pay him $1.5 million, let alone a nickel, to be my quarterback. But Kenny Pickett's not good enough. I mean, go back. This is not new news. I said it at the beginning. The Niners played the Steelers in the opener, so we talked about the Steelers a lot, in the week leading up to the season. Not good enough. So sure, whatever. Go get Russ. I don't care. Russ in Pittsburgh will be kind of interesting. PTP, bright lights, that kind of thing. So, he's over the hill. He ain't got it anymore. It's not coming back. But still an upgrade. I mean, he's better than Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph. Like, I don't even know what we're talking about here. Mac Jones got traded for a 6th. I love people are like, well, what did Mac Jones have that Trey Lance, or what doesn't Mac Jones have that Trey Lance did? Why did Trey Lance go for a 4th and Mac Jones went for a 6th? Because the Cowboys are silly. Because Trey Lance has the one thing that Trey Lance has that Zach Wilson and Mac Jones don't, is just the possibility that he can play, just because he hasn't. Because he hasn't played, people go, well, maybe. Track record of guys that used to play for the Niners at quarterback turning out to be better somewhere else. Not good, but that's all it is. Mac's rep's weird now. Had a team very motivated to move on from him, just as the Niners were, but I think it just shines a light on getting a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance. Was stunning when it happened, and it's even more stunning with every day that passes. The Trey Lance pick, understand this, the pick the Niners got for Lance is their 4th highest pick. They have 11 picks. Half of them are worse than the pick they got for Trey Lance. Now we're not going back in time here and going, the initial thing they did for Trey Lance was a massive bust, one of the biggest in NFL history. Not the player so much as just the deal they made. But I think it's just a reminder now when you see Mac Jones go for a 6, I wouldn't want Mac Jones to be my quarterback either, but he's proven to be better than Trey Lance, much better than Trey Lance to this point. So the fact that they got a fourth pick 123 for him, a fourth rounder, is significant. And it only looks more special as time goes on. So Sam Darnold's going to be gone. Understandable. As you guys know, I was intrigued by Sam Darnold going all the way back into training camp. I thought Darnold was interesting. I thought Darnold, I don't know that I expected a ton, but I thought initially, at least, Kyle's history with having, at least to some degree, prepared to draft Darnold, or at least the front office, maybe. It was only October when they traded for Garoppolo and then effectively got off of Darnold. But I thought there was a history there that would make Kyle a little flinchy on the trigger finger to get Darnold in a game. As it turned out, that was not true, or if it was, Brock was just so good that it never came to that. And we ultimately got one game of Sam Darnold. We saw a throw here or there of Sam Darnold. I saw him a ton in camp, and it was clear that he was their number 2 quarterback in training camp and in the preseason. I mean, it was obvious, really obvious. It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. So he'll go somewhere, get more money, get another shot. I don't know if it'll be good. The odds are not in his favor, just based on the history. I thought the odds were more in his favor if he'd been a 49er with Kyle. But I'll be watching. I'll be intrigued by Darnold. I remain intrigued, but I'm less intrigued when he's on somebody else's team. I'm more intrigued when he's on the 49ers. Tony Pollard left the Cowboys, by the way, to go to the Titans, which maybe that means they're in on Saquon. I know the Eagles were the ones connected to Saquon. Maybe it means Derrick Henry's moving on somewhere else. Pollard was easy to forget this. The game 2 years ago in the playoffs totally changed when Tony Pollard got hurt. The Niners were, I don't want to say on the ropes, but Tony Pollard was killing them. He was the best thing Dallas had against the 49ers defense. And people don't like to remember it this way. Only, this was the year the Niners 2 years ago lost to the Eagles. People don't like to remember that Dallas was in good shape against it. Eventually, then it was Zeke snapping the ball. But Tony Pollard getting hurt in that game was a significant thing. So, him potentially away from the Niners, I don't think is a bad thing. All right, let's get to some of your comments here. Russ, definitely a Pittsburgh guy. A Yinzer? Might be a Pittsburgh without an H guy, like Jaden Rashada. Bad deal for the Raiders. Raiders doing Raider things. That's a lot of guaranteed money. They're getting their guy who he wants. I mean, look, the one thing we know about the Raiders GM, he can spend money. Telesco did it with the Chargers. He can spend money. So, I think right now it feels like reading all of the I don't know if they're even tea leaves, but you read everything that's out there, and it feels like pass rusher opposite of Bosa really feels like the priority. Armstead out. Solidify, go run stuffer with your other interior defensive lineman and get a pass rusher. I don't think Chase Young will be back. Randy Gregory, Sean Payton was right about him. Sean Payton was right about him. So I don't think he'll be back. I don't know. It's funny. You think about where are these guys going to end up? How much are they going to get? Are they going to get anything? If I'm trying to sign a defensive end for cheap, and I look at Chase Young and go, because it's been said, and I think I've said it probably, Chase Young set up for a 1-year prove-it deal. What better opportunity to have proven it than the opportunity he just had with the 49ers? They wanted him to start off opposite Bosa. Cleveland Ferrell was better, but then he got hurt. So they just gave it to him. In theory, Randy Gregory should have had a head start on him. Didn't. And he didn't prove it. He was good in the Super Bowl, but he didn't prove it. So I would not bring Chase Young back. I would not bring Randy Gregory back. This team, I think, has repeatedly proven that they want to go big on a guy. Like, they really value elite talent in free agency. If they're going to plug somebody into a team that, as Debo said the other day, last week with Kay Adams, he thinks will be like 90, 95% back. So if you're going to plug a guy in free agency, what do you do in free agency? Mostly you overpay in free agency. You know, when you go shopping this time of the year, maybe you get a deal that you kind of like, but for the most part, you are overpaying. You're not buying anything on sale. And so if you're going to go overpay or pay a guy like Javon Hargrave, I saw a list the other day. He was one of the big overpays of the last free agency period. But here's what I would say about him. He was a true starter for the 49ers, played a ton of snaps, an excellent locker room fit. Like, if you're going to pay a guy, you feel good about that guy walking into a locker room that has a bunch of other guys making a lot of money, has a very high standard, has a quarterback making nothing. He fit. And so I think the same thing for the Niners. Like, if you're going to overpay a guy, don't overpay a middle of the road guy. Overpay, quote unquote, overpay a top end guy, because at least he then walks in the locker room and they go, "Ah, he's one of us." This is a locker room that's got a lot of those types of guys. If your Super Bowl window is open, which it is, and you're going for broke, which they are, you're not so much worried about, well, this guy's 29. Are we paying? He's 30. Are we paying for his prime in 3 years? No. But what you want is what you're getting right this second. Less concerned about 24-year-olds. Although you'd love to pay a 24. Those guys come available. It's a little weird. So, they've proven like they want a blue chip guy. They pay blue chip guys. I think as we sit here Monday, we're sitting around making waiting on a blue chip guy. And then if he's good, it's not an overpay, right? Like, if he starts for you, he plays all the time, he makes plays. Hopefully you sign a guy that can play their way into their pay. You put him opposite of Bosa. You're trying to get Bosa. I know there's, we go look at the metrics and the grades, and Nick is going to be like the top or the number 2 graded pass rusher. PFF had him the 3rd graded edge rusher in the league, behind Garrett and Parsons. And I know we debated all year long whether or not he should have more sacks. You're paying him. Is he really worth it? Shouldn't he have 19 sacks or 20 sacks? And everyone's like, no, you don't understand. Like, he's getting there, getting the pressures and the run defense. But you'd want him to get 19 sacks. So, you look at investing in the other pass rusher as investing in Nick Bosa. I the same way you look at investing in an offensive line as investing in your quarterback, and the same way that you look at investing in Brandon Aiyuk as investing as your quarterback. So as investing in your quarterback. So let's go back to, where's my Mike Silver thread here? Did not address the Silver comment about Aiyuk. There is no clear sense as to whether they will pay Brandon Aiyuk. Again, it may come down to value or to rethink their approach of the position. There is no rush here on Brandon Aiyuk for the 49ers. There's no urgency. Ayuk's under contract. Aiyuk is going to make $14 million on the 5th-year option. Aiyuk would like an extension. There are receivers out there that are going to get paid. In free agency, that number is going to be inflated. Could they trade him if they don't get what they want in free agency and then feel like we got to make a move in the draft? Sure. Is he going to be a tradable player? Well, in some ways, you take away his leverage when you wait for all the other receivers to sign and get moved, and T. Higgins wants to get traded. Okay, fine. Like, you let all of that play out, and then you see what the options are for him, and he gets to see what the options are for him. Just like Eric Armstead probably has a good idea of, what his value is out there. It's almost midday Monday. His agent's got to have a sense for what's out there. There's a reason they decided to go to free agency, whether they were far apart, as it seemed like Mayoko reported, or maybe not as far as it seemed like Schefter reported. You wait and see what happens. But the Niners are not, there was no evidence that they're in an urgent situation with Brandon Aiyuk. Nothing that's been reported says it. If you just follow the situation, there's no reason for it to be, since he's under contract. I know I've been hammering this, but I kind of feel like you should hammer your predictions. So I keep hammering this prediction. And the reason you should hammer your predictions is just because not everybody watches every show or listens to every show. And I want to make sure, one day soon we'll look back and go, guy was right or guy was wrong about this. My prediction has been that that Ayuk's going to end up playing this year on a 5th-year option. I don't think it's the only outcome. I just think it's the most likely outcome. Michael Pittman signed a 3-year deal for $71.5 million, $46 million guaranteed. To me, if he's $46 million guaranteed, then Aiyuk is, I just saw that number. That to me fits into the world where Aiyuk wants 60, right? Which would put him not at the very top, but near the top of receiver salaries. So that's what he's asking for, I would think. But again, he's under contract. So different situation. Pittman was a 2nd-round pick. Pittman was a 2nd-round pick. So obviously a different situation there. But that feels right. I mean, I don't look at, to me, Michael Pittman's money, I don't really see much of an impact on Michael Pittman's money. I don't really think he impacts. I'm just trying to find some other. I don't like these receiver numbers are not correct. I don't really think he impacts Aiyuk in any way. Aiyuk was always going to be more, whether he was a free agent or a re-sign. I'm looking at some receiver numbers here, but these are not correct. I think his extension's coming next year. That's where I've been on it. And people say, well, you're about to sign the quarterback. Are you? We'll see. You can do this next year with the quarterback if you wanted. They're not about to sign the quarterback at a top of the market deal. I don't think. If next year they sign Brock Purdy, it's not going to be a top of the market deal, not with a year of leverage left for them. Charlie says Aiyuk will likely sign a 3-year, 4-year contract max. It's interesting. I guess that's probably an age play, is what Charlie here on the chat is suggesting. Brandon's 25, turns 26 in 6 days. So we're almost to Brandon Aiyuk's 26th birthday. So you're thinking sign a 3-year deal, become a free agent again at 29 or 30. Sure. Fine. The Niners would prefer it to be longer to spread the money out, but we know 5-year contracts don't have to mean 5-year contracts. Although I think for some players, it's pretty easy to look at them initially and go, yeah, that guy's going to make it the length of the deal. Comment from DeAnthony, if Aiyuk plays on the 5th-year option, it's most likely to be without any offseason work due to a holdout. Agreed. That's what I expect to happen. And the question, the hope, if you're the Niners is, last year they went through all this stuff with Bosa, and they kept saying, well, we know that Nick takes care of himself. We know that Nick prepares. We know that Nick is going to be ready when he shows up. And, to some degree, everybody was like, yeah, I guess that's true. Then Nick showed up and admitted afterwards that the offseason holdout negotiation, all of that affected him. Now, was it the being away from his team and not being able to practice with them that affected him physically? Was it just the mental toll of going through a contract negotiation every day that affected him? I don't know. But that would be a concern for Aiyuk. Bowler Dan says trade Aiyuk to Denver for Surtain. Receivers are easier to find than a shutdown corner. That's true. So why would Denver do that? If you were Denver, wouldn't you rather keep Patrick Surtain around? Denver's got problems because of this contract with their quarterback, who they are going to pay $38 million to, play for the Steelers this year. So acquiring Brandon Aiyuk to then have to turn around and pay him doesn't make a ton of sense, especially after they just traded Jerry Jeudy, or are trading Jerry Jeudy to the Browns. You'd love a way to find, Brian Burns would be one. You'd love a way to find Pat Surtain, just like you would have loved a way to find Jalen Johnson, who apparently, I read today in his introductory press conference, he signed an extension with the Bears. Admitted that he the last year had to get his sex addiction under control. So good for him. Sounds like a pretty open and honest guy. But these are all players that the Niners have been interested in when it came to the trade deadline. So if they're interested in them in October, they're definitely interested in them in March. So I think you can go back and look at anybody that was reported that the Niners potentially traded for. Those guys are back and available, or at least in the conversation now. Ryan asks, how did Jalen Johnson fall so far in the draft? He was a great prospect. He was a great prospect out of Utah. Did he fall that far in the draft? I mean, he was a 3-year player, so he was young when he came into the league. He started as a true freshman at Utah. I'm just looking at his bio here. It said he made 2 starts. He played a lot as a true freshman, as I recall, at Utah on a good team. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, for a guy with some length, kind of the prototypical Utah, he's not quite the 6'2" Seahawks guy, but for him to go at 50 was interesting. I don't remember there being any sort of Jalen Johnson red flags on him in the draft, so I don't know the answer to that, Matt. I will say this: I don't remember feeling in that draft like he was, like, oh man, Jalen Johnson's tumbling. I don't remember it feeling that way. Where did he go relative to the other corners? Okudah went high. CJ Henderson went high. AJ Terrell went high. Damon Arnett went 19. God, there are a lot of. So, I mean, maybe in hindsight, deep corner draft, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners went in that draft. 5 of them without a crack addiction. And then he went 7. He was the 7th corner off the board at 50. So to answer the question, I don't know. I don't remember feeling like he was falling, but it might have just been that at the time it was a very deep corner draft. 6 guys in the first round is pretty significant. So maybe that's the answer there. Comment from Quinn: I trust Kyle and John to get things right. They definitely have a great track record. Eric says, Guy, quotations. So not calling me Guy, just saying, hey, Guy, if you were the Niners GM and I was the head coach and I tell you I need no lineman, would you sign the ex-Cowboy Smith for me? Question mark. Well, first I tell you to sit down and do your job. Let me do my job. All right. Second, it would be really dependent on what I could get. Like, if I can get Danielle Hunter, I am spending my money there first, and I'm turning my attention to an offensive lineman in the draft. The one thing we've seen with this group, they got Trent. They do feel pretty comfortable, like rolling out, I don't want to say a ragtag group of offensive linemen, but just a non-premium group of offensive linemen. And, as I said, coming out of the Super Bowl, I think you really need to address that, especially the interior spot, like that right guard spot. we're like, oh, well, Feliciano was good. He graded out well. He did, but he played half as much snaps as the rest of the guards. And Burford's got a rotation. I would like to end the right guard rotation after 2 years. I think 2 years is enough time to rotate guards. I'd prefer not to go into year 3 rotating guards. Now, maybe they're just like, no, this is the best way to do it. Burford's coming along. It's just, I hate it. I hate it. Rotating guards all the time. It drives me nuts. I don't like it. And I'd like them to stop it if they can. But I also think it tells us something. It's evidence that they're not in a rush there. And I think, they spent a lot of time with a lot of the offense, with all the premier offensive linemen at the combine. They've met with guys. They'll have more visits. That might be the spot where you go, we bring McKivitz back. We got Burford. Maybe Feliciano's back. We draft a guy, and that guy doesn't necessarily even have to play right away. He's on this, the parallel path thing. It was the thing like Kawakami always talks about it with the Warriors, like parallel path, like develop Wiseman and try to win a championship. It's really tough. It's hard. You just should draft players that can help you. But I do wonder if they look at it like, we can go a little cheaper on the offensive line. We can draft a guy. If he's not ready to play 1,000 snaps, fine. We don't need him to, because we can at least hold it together, bring him along. Maybe by mid, we'll rotate him in. Maybe they'll rotate right guard and right tackle. Somebody made a comment here, and I don't have it in front of me, but here we go. Here's another one. I knew we could count on it. What about David Bakhtiari? He just got released. That's the question from Jason. I love Bakhtiari as a beer drinker and historically as a player. San Mateo, same high school, went to Sarah, same high school as Brady. So Barry, a guy, went to Colorado. As you guys know, I don't really care about where a person's from when it comes to professional sports. Sometimes it's a nice added benefit. But the biggest issue, as much as you would love the guy, the biggest issue is he misses a lot of football. He has back-to-back he has 4 straight seasons in which he has not played 16 games. David Bakhtiari has not played 16 games since 2019. Okay. 1 game last year, 11 games in 2022, and 1 game the year before. Knee injury last year, and only played the 1 game. So he's coming off a knee surgery. If you add Bakhtiari, it wouldn't cost you anything. But as much as I would love him, there's no fit there. It's just not a fit. It's not a place I would spend the money, even if it's not much money. You just need reliability out of your offensive line. I think you look at offensive line a little bit the way that you look at special teams last year, where you just want to make a decision there and then not think about it at all. And it didn't work out that way for the 49ers because Jake Moody missed, a fair amount of kicks. But that would be the goal. Is you just don't have to end up in injury concern situations, that type of thing. Has David Bakhtiari played any right tackle at all? I'm going through his let's see here. Can he play right tackle? Like, let's just say he was healthy, and let's just say you liked him. Can he play right tackle? I don't know. Have a left tackle. I don't see all. I don't see. Where's his starts? David Bakhtiari game logs. I see a lot of left tackle. Yeah. Anyway, that name is going to come up a lot because He's a name player. You've played a lot about him. You've played a lot against him, and he's local, but doesn't feel like a fit. Yeah, I mean, but I guess you could say the same thing about Joey Bosa. That's more intriguing. Would you have any hope that Bosa could figure it out? I mean, what's not figure it out, I guess, just stay healthy. Maybe not playing on artificial turf would help him. Joey, last year, 9 games. Year before, 5 games. Year before, 16. Year before, 12. Bosa has not played, and he came in the league in 16. So was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? 1, 2. He was the year after Armstead, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 years in the league. Bosa's never played back-to-back 16-game schedules. In 8 years, he's only played 16 games 3 times. So 5 times he hasn't played a full season. And in those 5 years, it's not like he's played 14 games. He's only played more than 12 games 3 times in his career, in his 8 years. 1, 2, 3. So Joey Bosa has as many 16-game seasons as he has seasons in which he's played less than 10 games. So he's as many 16-game seasons as he has single-digit games played seasons. That said, he's still relatively young. I mean, he'll turn 29 this year. So, would they be willing to do that? It would have to be. I think one of the reasons that Joey comes up is because you're like, well, they would love him. Nick would love him. It would just be all around. It'd be a win-win-win. But the Bosas would have to depart from what their track record is. And the track record is maximize dollars. And, you talk about this because you think you can get him cheaper since you have Nick. So would he come do the family thing for less money because he's rich, Nick's rich, everybody's rich. Now that we're all rich, let's go do our thing. And I guess you could argue if he's, let me see, when is he a free agent? If you're him, what do you sign? Yeah, I mean, on his current deal, he's got technically 2 years left. But this is really, if Joey Bosa plays for the Chargers this year, he's getting restructured, which maybe extends it. Next year, his dead cap number is only $7.6 million. This year, it's 22. So if you're him, I think you probably sign. Let's just say he gets released. You sign a shorter term deal. Maybe it's even a 1-year deal, and you that is your prove it year. Like, play 1 year with my guy, ball out, see if we can win a championship together, and then maybe be healthy, have 11 sacks or 7 sacks or whatever, and then sign a big deal with somebody else. Then you leave. Maybe. I don't know if you leave your brother, but then you leave. So maybe that would be kind of the mindset for him. But that's on them. That's just not the way the Bosas have operated historically. But this is a unique situation. And when mom's out here Instagramming, maybe there's something to it. Comment. Ewok says, Christian McCaffrey was, quote, hurt a lot too. Would Joey revive his career with the 49ers and stay healthy? I mean, there's really no reason, but yet I feel like him on the 49ers would be kind of healthy. I don't know why I feel that way. Get him off the artificial. That might be a part of it. McCaffrey was McCaffrey. It's funny you say that. Was McCaffrey, quote unquote, hurt a lot going back to his time on the Panthers? The answer is yes. He played 7 games the year before the Niners acquired him. He'd played 3 games the year before that, after 3 straight years to start his career of 16 games. So after back-to-back years where he barely played, McCaffrey has now played in every game in back-to-back years, except for the week 17 or the week 18 rest game this year. So you played him. He played 17 games because remember, he played for the, I mean, you do remember. He played for the Niners immediately after getting traded. So he didn't, even though he got traded that year, he didn't miss a game. He played in every game for the Panthers, and he played in every game but the last regular season game this year for the Niners. So are those things connected? He was playing on natural grass in Carolina. He was not playing on artificial surface. But yeah. Have mercy on the sportscasters. They still can't get Nick Kajoi right. Imagine if they're playing on the same team at the same time. Then they're more likely to be right. If they're on different teams and you say Joey Bosa, everybody knows you're wrong. If they're on the same team and you say Joey Bosa, totally defensible. So I think it's fine. I think it actually works the opposite way. People get all bent out of shape, like, oh, you said Joey, it's Nick, this idiot. When guys on TV do it, I don't. It's a pretty understandable slip. I know it's not good. You don't want to make mistakes, but people get offended. Like, this guy must not know what he's talking about. I just called Nick Bosa Joey Bosa. Oh my God, impossible. I got to think Cheryl Bosa does that once or twice a year, right? Anybody that grew up with siblings knows it happened semi-frequently. Parents are yelling in the other room, call the wrong person. I've got sisters, and sometimes people were called the wrong names. It's not just like this. It's not just my sisters were called by each other's names. Like, I got called their names. They got called my name. Oh, but Burkhart says Joey Bosa once, and all of a sudden, this guy's a bum. It's fine. But yeah, there'd be some mix-ups. I don't really care about it. Comment, it was just reported the Niners were in on Wilkins before he signed with the Raiders. Who reported that? So it gives us an idea of what they were thinking. That's a good observation. That does give us an idea of what they were thinking. But I think we also can look at it and have a pretty good idea of what they're thinking, right? So it's that's a good comment. That's a helpful comment. Two Bosa pressers would be wild. Yeah, both Bosa's doing press conferences. Close your eyes. Can you tell the difference? Not gonna lie, I've not heard Joey talk a bunch. The most I've seen Joey is like some of the stuff when he's at Knicks games. Easy thing for Joey too, quote unquote easy. Already playing in the state of California, so this would not be a guy who's like been playing in Florida, paying Florida tax. Not, he's already been playing in the state. Kind of has a sense for how much money's coming out of his paycheck, just like Eric Armstead did when he showed everybody. A lot of feeling that the Raiders overpaid. If the Niners had given Christian Wilkins that contract, would people be adamant that he overpaid, that they overpaid, or you just get treated a little bit differently when it feels like your team is one guy away, So I'm looking for that. Whoever reported it, I appreciate when you guys in the comments tell me something got reported, but it helps me find it if you tell me also who reported it. Wilkins and Max Crosby. I would rather. Here's a comment. Hero 2567. Joey would be cool, but if they can pull it, I'd rather Mac than Joey. My first reaction is I wouldn't. I'd rather Joey. Just I do think there's something to be said about. I mean, look, the fact is Khalil's been a better player. Khalil's been healthier, but he's not been 100% either. Ryan says, "Did you watch football last year?" I know. The Bosas together is just too attractive. I just love the idea of the Bosas together. All right. Everyone's yelling at me now. I know Khalil's a better player. The Bosas together, maybe I'm too high on Joey finding his groove again. Mac was him. It feels less likely. The other part of it is Mac's the better player, so he's less likely to get cut because their money is similar, right? Mac's 38.5, Joey's 36.6. So I think it's less likely that Khalil Mack becomes the free agent. I would buy low on Joey Bosa stock. I guess that's what I'm telling you. I would buy low on Joey Bosa stock because I think the difference between Joey and Khalil is you could actually buy low. Like you could, it's not just us talking in theories. You'd be getting Joey because he's cheaper because he's playing with Nick. If Khalil Mack became available because they cut him, would you be able to sign him? He was the 6th best edge rusher according to PFF last year. So would you even be? He was number 3 in run defense. And he was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 against the pass rush. So I don't think you probably couldn't get, he might be too expensive. Whereas Joey, you're kind of hoping hometown discount. The one area, and I don't even need to look at the PFF grades for this. The one area where, Khalil really helps you is run defense. Now, when a guy has foot issues, I get a little scared off specifically. So you'd be swapping out Arik Armstead's foot issues for Khalil Mack's foot issues. But I can't deny. I mean, he's played, I'll be honest. I did not realize he played 17 games his first year in LA. So he's played 17 back-to-back years. Better player. Healthier player. More expensive player. So, yeah. Josh Jacobs to the Packers per rap sheet. That's a good signing for the Packers. Good for them. But they already ran the ball well. I don't know that it, I'm just thinking about like the matchup with Green Bay. They already ran the football well. That's a good signing. Angel says, I think there's rumors that Ridley signing with the Patriots there, willing to give whatever he asked. Did I just see Kendrick Bourne is going back to the Patriots as well? We saw that today. Rams are signing Colby Parkinson. $22 million, 15 guaranteed. That's solid. Comment from DR. Do you think all this focus on drafting tight ends lately is possibly a juice replacement? I think, as I've said, and this is not just a homer take here, I think Kyle Juszczyk's a lot harder to replace than people think he's going to be. Guy the Niners would have liked, or he was on a lot of people's boards for the Niners, Bryce Huff. Mark Hahn reporting in the chat that he's going to the Eagles. It feels like the Eagles are going to get 3-year, $51 million. It'll make him the highest paid non-quarterback undrafted free agent in NFL history, says Schefter. That's an interesting distinction. That's a great distinction for him. Feels like the Eagles are going to get Saquon. It feels like a perfect fit. Chargers with Love, Juice. All right, it is 11:08 Pacific time on Monday, so almost an hour of this show. Expect more things to happen as things occur. We'll be back here. This will be on the podcast feed as well. It could expire quickly. We'll see. And yeah, I gave out 5 stars this morning. 1 star goes out to daylight savings time. Not on board. Not on board. I'm a forced participant. Would like to see Saquon go to Houston. Saquon in Houston would be, says Mike. Saquon in Houston would be sweet. I'd like to see Saquon in Houston too, because I'd like to not see him on the Eagles. Good luck stopping the tush push. I know the analysis says that the tush push has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts' squats. It had so much more to do with Jason Kelce, who's gone. So I think it might be going away anyway if we don't outlaw it too. All right, I'm going to jump off, and I'm going to be right here doing work, doing a few things, and as things occur, we might be back. So hit the little bell there if you're watching on YouTube that lets you know when we go live, and appreciate it. If you're here on YouTube, hit the like button. Appreciate that very much. As this channel continues on and the show continues on as the Guy Haberman channel and the Guy Haberman podcast, we'll see how that name sticks. May switch it up, but trying to make sure that when you search it on the podcast feed, the similar stuff comes up. But we need your growth, need your likes, need your shares, need all that stuff. So thank you for the support. Appreciate it very much. And you're all guys in my book. You're all guys in my book. Guy is not a slur. Thanks for hanging, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.